Even 50. And 5 more for Slytherin. And Slytherin with a 40 to add that to the scoreboard. Since we have now had 3 competitions and all 3 houses have now won, each house will receive 1 free test question, and Mr. C will bring donuts to the next class for everybody. And the Arizona people, you guys get donuts too. Congratulations. Yay. You get donuts too. I'll be sending them 4th class mail, so you should get them in about 2 weeks. Enjoy. That'll be great. All right. So, we are now officially at war.
Didn't we do this last week?
Yes, but I have new pieces. We're just reviewing. Here's the North and the South.
And everything that we overdo.
I should have. I could have asked this question too. Which are the 2 northern states on the West Coast who did not actually have anything to do with the war at all? Maine's on the East Coast. Get a map. California is one of them. What's the other one? We didn't. Oregon, correct. Yes, Washington did not exist yet. I love that ship. The movie Sahara, have you seen that? Features this ship.
What movie?
Sahara. It's great. You should see it. It has Matthew McConaughey with his shirt off.
Oh, okay.
Well, duh. It is Matthew McConaughey. So, duh, his shirt is off. Although in Interstellar, as far as I know, he did not take his shirt off in Interstellar.
Well, that's because they were in space.
No, we totally did.
It's because they were in space. Yes. What do you mean because they were in space? Matt Damon got all naked on Mars. You can take your shirt off in space, just not for very long. Or then maybe for a really long time. That's another possibility. Okay, so here's our early returns from the war. The first battle that actually matters, we're not going to talk a lot about battles, but we do need to mention a few of them. The first one that really matters is the Battle of Manassas. Manassas takes place in Manassas. Now, just as a potential snitch question, there's another name for the Battle of Manassas. And you should, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you might want to just look that up. There's another name for Manassas. So the first Battle of Manassas is fought in Manassas. That is in Virginia. I like saying the Battle of Manassas was fought in Manassas. The forest of Manassas, the waters of Manassas.
I have never heard the name.
How beautiful are they to those who there came to a knowledge of their Savior. No, that's Nephi, the forest of Nephi, the waters, the forest of Mormon, the waters of Mormon.
Use the real name instead of saying Manassas.
Look, the real name is Manassas.
The
So,
real name is Bull.
no, it is not.
How do you spell Manassas? Okay.
With an M. M-A-N-A-S-S-A-S. So Manassas, the first battle, I'm from Virginia, so we call it Manassas. The first Battle of Manassas is fought in 1861, in the summer of 1861. It is the first major engagement between the Union and Confederate forces.
In 1861.
Shush.
You laugh at the end. Chuckle.
I'm telling you, the lack of respect they get in this class. I don't even know what to do with that. Okay, so so this is a critical battle of the war, and it's the first one that really matters. The North is expecting that they're pretty much just going to roll right over the South. They have a huge superiority complex. The South has a lot of green troops, but they're full of zeal, and they have decent commanders, which the North lacks. They are just sort of hoping they can hold out. The distance between the two capitals is 95 miles. Washington, D.C. is right here, and Richmond is right here. There's 95 miles between the two. Manassas is a healthy day's walk from Washington, D.C. Parley Pratt could have gotten there in a day, walking. Yeah, well, by now it sort of symbolically does matter.
Well, it didn't matter in 1812.
It didn't matter in 1812, but by 1860 it's kind of important. And we'll talk about that a little bit here in just a minute. So the North arrives, the Union forces arrive in force and find a Confederate encampment in a big broad valley, which is bordered by a creek, which is called Bull Run. The North, the Union figures they can trap the South against the creek. It's not wide enough for this. This is a massive miscalculation on their part. But at least at the beginning, the Union artillery and the Union troops appear to have the advantage. But a very large number of Southern reinforcements arrive by rail. Remember, railroad's really new, and people still aren't used to the idea that you can move troops and ammunition and supplies really fast with railroad. Southern troops show up. They're not on the battlefield when it begins, but they get there so fast that they're able to join the battle even though they were miles away when it started. This is the first time in world history that anybody has ever been able to put troops into combat when they didn't start on the field of combat that day. So they moved them in by rail, and the Southern troops began to flood onto the battlefield and push the North back. The Union troops are not used to being fired on. Once their line starts to break, they just crack and run. But they're not able to really escape because the road is clogged with carriages and horses and people fleeing in panic. All the heights around the battlefield were occupied by picnickers.
They were spectators. They were like, oh, let's go watch people.
Congressmen, senators, people took a day trip out here to watch the Union forces roll over the Confederate forces. And when they were retreating in bloody and panicked confusion, everybody was trying to get back to Washington, and the roads were all clogged and everything. Now, the Southern commanders... Yeah, isn't that bad? That's bad. Chief credit for the victory in the battle goes to a regiment from Virginia commanded by Thomas J. Jackson. Thomas J. Jackson is famously known as, for 5 points, Stonewall Jackson. That's correct. Ravenclaw, Slytherin, who are you?
Hey, you know...
Ravenclaw's running away with it today.
Mr. C, do you know John Burns from Civil War?
Oh yeah, that's great stuff. I don't know him, but I know of him.
Yeah?
He does not know of me.
No, he's dead.
Yeah.
No, he's still alive.
Yeah, but Ken Burns does great stuff. His stuff is marvelous.
I'm talking about different. What are you talking about? Couldn't name that name.
I'm talking about Ken Burns, who does the definitive documentary on the Civil War. Yes.
So is Thomas J. Jackson, is he a Union or a Confederate?
Thomas J. Jackson is a Confederate general. He's in gray. Although we sort of have this idea that you have the blue and the gray, right? The blue are the Union forces, the gray are the Confederate forces. Now, if you showed up on the battlefield, some of the troops would be in blue, but those wouldn't necessarily be Union troops. And some of them would be in gray, and those wouldn't necessarily be Confederates. A lot of them would be wearing butternut. There'd be a lot of green on the battlefield, depending on whether you were a cavalry unit or an infantry unit or fusiliers or artillery or whatever. You would wear different color of uniform. So when you go to the Civil War Museum, and next class I'll have a bunch of pictures from the Civil War Museum in Atlanta. Lots of very cool stuff. But the uniforms are all over the map. So it's not like everybody over here is in blue and everybody here is in gray. The smoke starts flying, everybody looks the same. You don't know who's on your side. And a lot of people will get killed by friendly fire. And please keep in mind all the way through this that your chances of dying in combat were 1/10 your chances of dying afterward in the hospital. So we have about 500 Union killed, about 400 Confederates killed, but there are 12 to 1,400 casualties on either side, and a very large number of those people will not survive because they're going to die of infection because we don't know anything about germs. So keep that in mind. Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson, famously said to have been standing like a stone wall. Look, those Virginia boys under Jackson, they stand like a stone wall. That we say it as if it were a good thing. It is possible, however, that the comment, although it definitely was made by a commander who had ordered Jackson to withdraw and support his troops. And so he may have been saying, look at that guy, he's just standing there like a stone wall. So it may not have been a good thing, but his troops loved that, and so he was Stonewall Jackson forever after, yes.
So more of the story, if you get insulted, make sure it's something that can swing to like...
That you can spin it your way. That's right. If you're going to get insulted, make sure that you can make something good out of it. This is the Union general, picked by Abraham Lincoln. He was like 7th on the list, but he was the first one to say yes. This is McDowell, and we will not hear of him again. That's it. His troops retreat in panicked confusion, and he gets fired before he gets back to Washington, D.C. General McClellan will take over. McClellan is a name you should know. McClellan is a career soldier, graduated West Point, experienced, cautious. He will have the Army of the Potomac for 2 years, or for two stints, neither one of them particularly successful. We'll talk more about that last time. But the real hero of the Battle of Manassas was not even on the battlefield. The real hero of the Battle of Manassas is this woman right here. Her name is Rose Greenhow. Greenhow.
Every time my screen goes black, I'm forced to look at my tablet.
Probably her ancestors would have spelled it Greenhalghh. However, it's Scottish. It would have come out Greenhow. And so, yeah. So it would have been, they would have just shortened it to Greenhow. Okay. Yeah, just somewhere along the way, we're going to get rid of that. Ethan, can you stop, start?